Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to talk about a very specific kind of anxiety. It isn't, existential dread, but in the moment, it can feel surprisingly close. We're talking about range anxiety.
Oh, I know this one well.
If you have ever ridden an e-bike or even an electric scooter, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're 5 miles from home, you're facing this hill that just looks like a wall.
And that little battery bar starts blinking red.
Yes.
It is the moment the magic dies.
Yeah.
Suddenly, you aren't riding this cool futuristic vehicle anymore.
Yeah.
You're dragging a 50-pound anchor up a slope.
Exactly. It turns a convenient commute into a workout you absolutely did not sign up for. And frankly, looking at the industry data, it's one of the main reasons people hesitate.
The trust gap. It's real. We love the assist, but we hate being tethered to the wall outlet.
Well, today we might be looking at the end of that anxiety. We have a stack of reports here about a system that claims to just shatter that limitation completely.
Okay.
We are looking at a technology, and this is on the road right now, not just a concept, that boasts a range of 1,000 kilometers.
Sorry, say that again?
1,000 kilometers on a single charge.
It sounds like a typo in the press release.
It really does. 1,000 kilometers is roughly 620 miles. And to put that in perspective, because numbers can be pretty abstract,
Yeah, please do.
the source material uses a really helpful comparison. That is about the distance from Milan in the north of Italy all the way down to Toronto
Wow.
in the heel of the boot.
So you could ride the entire length of Italy without ever looking for a plug.
Yeah.
That changes the fundamental math of how we use these things.
So naturally, my first thought was, okay, they must have strapped a battery the size of a suitcase to this thing, but the sources say that isn't it.
No, and that's the big misconception. If you just make the battery bigger, you make the bike heavier, and a heavier bike needs more energy to move, which drains the battery faster.
It's a diminishing return?
Totally. If you put a battery big enough for 600 miles on a standard bike, you'd basically have a motorcycle. It would be too heavy to even pedal.
So if it's not a giant battery, how are they doing it?
That is where this gets really interesting. The system is called Feremo. It's an acronym for Future Energy Recycling System for Mobility.
Feremo.
And the company behind it isn't a traditional bike giant like Giant or Trek. It's a Japanese component manufacturer called Taiyo Yuden.
That name rang a bell for me when I was reading the notes.
It should if you're a bit of a tech historian or if you burned a lot of mixed CDs in the late 90s.
Ah, there it is. CDRs.
Exactly. Taiyo Yuden was instrumental in developing CDR technology with Sony and Philips. They are masters of optical recording and high-precision electronics.
I love that. They went from helping us record our favorite playlists to helping us record massive mileage.
But it actually makes sense, doesn't it? If your background is in precise electronic components and energy management, you approach an e-bike completely differently than a company that's used to bending metal tubes.
That's the key distinction. They aren't trying to build a better bicycle frame. They are totally reimagining the energy flow.
Exactly. The breakthrough here isn't chemical. It's not some new lithium formula. It's a motor and a controller system that focuses entirely on efficiency and regeneration.
So let's get into the how, because regenerative braking is a buzzword we've heard for, what, a decade now? Hybrid cars do it.
Electric cars, yeah.
Yeah.
Even some cheap scooters claim to do it. But usually on a bike, the returns are tiny. You might get an extra mile or two if you're lucky.
So why is Feremo different?
Well, the problem with traditional e-bike regen really comes down to physics. A car is heavy. When a car brakes, there is a massive amount of kinetic energy momentum that you can capture and shove back into the battery.
Right, but a bike.
A bicycle and a rider are, relatively light. There just isn't as much energy to grab.
Plus, I imagine if the regeneration is too aggressive on a light bike, it would feel awful, like you're constantly slamming on the brakes.
Precisely. Efficient regeneration needs a very sophisticated controller to manage that flow without making the bike feel jerky. Feremo tackles this with a specifically designed front hub motor and a high-efficiency algorithm.
And the numbers.
They claim a 30% increase in regeneration efficiency compared to current competitors.
30%. That's not an incremental improvement. That's a massive generational leap.
It is. They're capturing energy in 3 distinct scenarios.
Hmm.
When you pull the brake lever, obviously.
Okay.
When you stop pedaling to coast.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the most important one, when you are riding downhill.
Let's double click on that downhill scenario. The documents mention something called the engine brake effect.
Yeah.
To me, that sounds like driving a stick shift car. You downshift on a hill so you don't burn out your brake pads.
That is exactly the sensation they're replicating. If you're riding a heavy e-bike down a steep hill, gravity takes over. You accelerate fast, which can be, frankly, terrifying.
Oh, I've been there. You're just squeezing the handles, hoping the cables don't snap.
Right. What Feremo does is use the motor to provide resistance. That resistance slows you down to a safe, controlled speed. But at the same time, it's acting like a generator. It converts that scary momentum, that speed you're trying to scrub off, into electricity.
So safety is actually a byproduct of the energy harvesting.
Or maybe vice versa. You get a controlled, safe descent, and the battery gets a free lunch.
Right.
It's capturing all this energy that other systems just waste as heat.
Okay, but I want to be the skeptic for a second. We opened with that 1,000-kilometer number. That is a headline-grabbing stat.
For sure.
But in the fine print of these reports, it says that range is achieved in eco mode. What does that actually mean for the rider? Am I basically doing all the work?
You are doing a fair bit of it, yeah. In eco mode, the system is designed to maximize that regeneration loop. The rider is providing roughly 50% of the propulsion power. You aren't getting a free ride. You are in a partnership with the bike.
So that 1,000 kilometers is like a theoretical max for a really fit rider who is managing their momentum perfectly.
Correct. It's the hypermiling record for an e-bike.
Okay, so for the average commuter who doesn't want to show up to work sweating through their shirt, eco mode might be a bit ambitious. What happens when we turn the assist up?
This, to me, is where the numbers are actually more impressive than the 1,000-kilometer headline. There's a middle or flat mode.
Right.
In this setting, the range is approximately 200 kilometers.
Which is what, about 125 miles?
Roughly, yeah.
That is still huge. I mean, I don't know anyone who commutes 125 miles round trip on a bike. That covers almost any urban use case.
It does. And then there's high power mode, where the bike is doing the heavy lifting to get you up hills.
Yeah.
Even then, the range is 100 kilometers.
Okay, that's the stat that matters to me. 100 kilometers on high power. That's double or triple what most standard e-bikes deliver today. My bike at home gets maybe 40 kilometers if I'm blasting the turbo mode.
And that's the real takeaway. The 1,000-kilometer figure is the marketing hook, but the 100-kilometer high power range is the utility. It means you can run errands, commute, and ride home uphill fast without ever even glancing at the battery gauge.
It effectively kills range anxiety even in its worst efficiency mode.
It really does.
There's also a feature in here that makes the ride sound almost intelligent, the smart power regeneration mode. It says it keeps speed constant on downhills automatically.
Yeah, think of it like cruise control, but for slowing down. The algorithm is monitoring the wheel speed 24/7. So if you start rolling down a hill, you don't have to keep feathering the brakes to stay at a comfortable speed. You just set the threshold, and the bike manages the drag for you.
That sounds incredibly smooth.
It smooths out the entire ride. You aren't jerking back and forth. You're just gliding at a safe pace while the bike is just drinking up all that free energy. It takes the mental load off.
That leads to the interface. Most e-bikes have a speedometer and a battery bar. That's it. Feremo has a multifunctional indicator that shows electricity generated right alongside calories burned.
Oh, yeah.
That feels like a very deliberate choice.
It's pure gamification.
Wow.
And it's brilliant psychology. On a normal e-bike, you are a consumer. You're just draining the tank.
Right.
On this system, you're a producer. You see 300 calories burned, and right next to it, you see the amount of electricity you've put back into the system.
It connects the burger I ate for lunch directly to the electrons that are moving the wheel.
It completely closes the loop. It validates the effort. You might pedal a little harder or coast a little longer just to see that generation number tick up. It turns the commute into a mini game where the high score is efficiency.
This whole concept, turning the rider into a power source, it seems to feed into a much broader vision that Taiyo Yuden has.
It does.
The sources talk about a low-carbon society, which is, standard corporate speak. But then they mention a super-aging society. Those feel like very different problems.
They are. But this bike is trying to address both. The low-carbon angle is obvious. More bikes, fewer cars. But the super-aging society point is fascinating, especially coming from Japan, where the population is skewing older.
So how does a high-tech bike help an aging population?
Two main ways. First, the safety we just talked about. That automatic downhill braking makes a heavy e-bike manageable for someone with maybe slower reaction times or less grip strength. It prevents a bike from running away from you.
Okay, that makes sense.
But the second factor is what they call the heavy battery problem.
Oh, right. right. I didn't even think about that. Lugging the battery inside to charge it.
Exactly. If you live in a walk-up apartment, carrying a 10-pound lithium brick upstairs every single day is a huge barrier. It might be the reason an older person stops riding altogether.
Because it's just too much of a hassle.
Right. But because Feremo regenerates so efficiently, the need for wall charging just drops dramatically. Instead of charging every night, maybe you only plug it in once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks.
That reduces the physical labor of ownership. It makes the bike a viable tool for a 7-year-old, not just a 20-year-old athlete.
It just removes the friction.
Uh-huh.
And speaking of utility, there's one more feature that I think is just plain cool. The bike works as a power bank.
The USB port.
It's a USB Type A adapter right on the bike. You can plug your phone in. It sounds small, but think about natural disasters. Japan deals with earthquakes, power grids go down.
Right.
If you have this bike, you have a human power generator. As long as you can pedal, you can charge your communication devices.
Yeah.
The source actually calls it electricity without limits, anytime, anywhere.
That's the ultimate survival tool. It's not just a vehicle, it's kind of a life raft. So we have this incredible tech, 1,000-kilometer range, smart braking, disaster resilience. The big question is this vaporware? Can I buy this?
It is real, but it's not universal just yet. We're recording this in February 2026. The tech was showcased at CES, and it is on the road. However, you can't just walk into a Trek or specialized dealer and find it.
Because Taiyo Yuden is a component maker.
Exactly. So they're supplying the system to specific partners. The notes list a few, like Chackle, Morishi Cycle, and Evol Bike.
Those sound like primarily domestic Japanese brands.
For now, yes. It's heavily focused on the Japanese market. But here is the kicker. The price. You'd expect this to be a super expensive luxury item.
I'm bracing myself.
The models equipped with Feremo are retailing in Japan for between 1,000 and 1,300 euros.
You're kidding me.
Converted, yeah.
That's shockingly low. That's entry-level e-bike pricing. There are generic e-bikes with terrible range that cost more than that right now.
That is the power of a component manufacturer pushing a standard. They can produce at scale. It positions this tech not as a premium toy for the wealthy, but as a mass-market replacement for the combustion engine.
Wow. If that price holds up for export, it's going to force the entire global industry to adapt. You just can't sell a bike with a 40-mile range for $3,000 when there's a bike doing 600 miles for half that.
It raises the floor for everyone. It signals we're moving past the early adopter phase of e-bikes, where we accept all the limitations, and into the mature technology phase where efficiency is king.
It really does feel like we're looking at the hybrid car moment for bicycles. It's no longer just about strapping a battery to a frame. It's about intelligent energy management.
It's a complete shift from consumption to regeneration, and that's a powerful concept that goes way beyond just bikes.
That brings us to the thought we wanted to leave you with today. We spent this time talking about capturing the energy of a morning commute. Feremo proves that human kinetic energy, just moving our bodies, is a potent fuel source if you have the right tech to catch it.
Think about how much energy we just waste. Think about a gym at 6:00 p.m. You've got 100 people running on treadmills, spinning on stationary bikes, lifting weights. All of that is kinetic energy that currently just dissipates as heat and sweat.
We are literally burning off energy while we're paying the power company to keep the lights on. Are we moving toward a future where that gym powers the neighborhood block, where the turnstiles in the subway harvest the footsteps of a million commuters?
The energy is already there. We are generating it every single time we move. The Feremo system is just the first real step in proving we can bottle it and use it. We just need to get better at catching it.
I suspect we'll be seeing a lot more of that catching it in the next few years. Before we wrap up, though, we have one more important thing to do.
We do. We just want to say a massive thank you to you, the person listening to this right now.
We know you have endless options for content. The fact that you chose to spend these last 15 minutes with us geeking out over regenerative braking and Japanese engineering, it truly means the world to us.
We love diving into these topics, but it's your curiosity that really makes it all worthwhile. So thank you for letting us be a small part of your day.
Keep asking questions, keep pedaling, and we will see you on the next deep dive. Bye for now.